It's time for another Matt Chat with Coach Corey here. Today, I asked him to share with us how he goes about designing a class. Does he just show up and spitball, all right, let's try this, let's try that? Or does he come at it with a little bit more of a plan, which, I think we all know the answer, but I'd love to hear what his process is in preparing the different things that he teaches, the different lesson plans.
Definitely. So guys, the way I kind of design lessons for the different classes is I definitely start off with looking at who has the fundamentals and who does not, and how can we get them to get the fundamentals or sharpen those fundamentals. So what I do is I plan everything quite a few months in advance. I'd say about 3 to 4 months in advance. But I'm looking at everything through the lens of weekly training. So for example, our Muay Thai class, I might have some lesson plans all mapped out, but I see certain needs that need to get met in that class. Let's say we have some new people, or we have people that are getting ready for competition that need to be really sharp. I might modify things that I have in that plan relating to what I see that our students need work on. So let's say, for example, we have one student, hey, they're looking like a great kicker right now. Their kicks are on point, they're sharp, they're powerful, but maybe the boxing is lacking. Okay, so maybe next week in the training, I'm like, well, I'm noticing this group of students having a little bit trouble with their hands. Let's go back to some boxing fundamentals. Let's cover that. And then we just modify it as we go along through that. That way, everyone is learning. No one feels like they're missing out. Okay. But the good thing is, I always have things on a revolving door. Okay. So we cover things, and just because we cover them, it doesn't mean we're never going to cover them again. It just means we're going to cover them at a later time. But I'm always keeping plans, while solid and planned out, I'm also keeping plans very fluid. Because especially, like example, we have a lot of new people lately. I've had to really make sure everybody get the fundamentals down, such as jab cross, rear round kick, how to check a kick, all these things. I modify it for the new people that we have, but I let the advanced people get the work in that they need as well. So that's just one thing we do as far as like the Muay Thai class. For Jujutsu, I plan everything out in according to topic. So, for example, this whole month of June, we've been doing half guard. Cover all the different aspects of half guard, how to sweep, how to submit, how to pass. The month before was closed guard. Next month is back. So we're always focusing on core areas that are needed, right? I might have a fun class where I'm teaching you guys some flying arm bars or helicopter chokes, something fun like that. But for the main part, we're always going through this revolving door of learning our fundamentals, picking up new ways to implement them, but making sure everyone's got the same basic skills to succeed.
Awesome, I like that. That's cool. Do you find a lot of difference between how you organize for the striking versus how you organize for jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, for the striking, it's kind of funny. I feel like there's so much for the striking. It's actually very difficult to focus on one aspect, and because Muay Thai is a multifaceted striking sport, kicking and boxing and clinching and all that, I kind of like to cover a little bit of everything. Now some weeks we'll go a little bit heavier. Okay, this week we're heavy into the kicking. This week we're heavy into the clinching. This week we're heavy into the boxing. But I'll always try to have an even mix. Every class you'll throw some hands, you'll throw some legs, you'll do some clinch work. That way you're getting the real Muay Thai flavor, that true, we're getting every bit of that Muay Thai. But for the Jiu-Jitsu, I definitely like to focus on content area. There's so much when it comes to Jiu-Jitsu, like half guard is just a very generic term. I could honestly probably teach 2 to 3 months worth of half guard and not run out of material. But for that, we really break it down. Okay, well, let's look at this style of half guard. Let's look at this style. Why does this one work better than this one? Why do we use this one? Kind of get into that whole topic. We can really do a deep dive into it when we focus on one piece of content for an entire month, essentially.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool that, I didn't realize you planned months in advance.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I always feel like having that really helps kind of round out the lesson. Because the people that only plan like class to class, even though they are planning class to class or even week to week, I feel like they tend to get stuck into ruts. Like you find yourself doing the same drills.
Yes.
And you never there's something about. Now, one thing I'm curious about, how much do you feel like your class is influenced curriculum wise, where it's okay, I have a track and we're going down that track, versus you pull up the roster and you see who's in there and you know exactly what they need. What's sort of the balance between individual
Definitely.
influence versus curriculum influence?
Definitely. So, I go over a basic curriculum of everything. But of course, like we have, a lot of cases, we have people here that want to compete. So obviously I have to give them a certain view as a coach so they can succeed in their tournament or their match. And I'll adjust training for that. Like some days we'll have it where, like we've had a couple Wednesdays where no newer people have shown up. It's just been either the advanced people or the competitors. And every time I get the puppy dog eyes and coach, well, it's just us. So, okay, let's make it a sparring day, right? And now it's a sparring day. Now we're getting 45 minutes of sparring in. It's Q&A in between. Everyone's learning in a different way, in a different pace, but now it's adjusted for them. Meanwhile, if I didn't have advanced people in the class, I could really focus on just the basics, like, okay, we're learning how to defend a jab today. All right, we're gonna parry, okay, and then just like a 3-minute round on just a parry, and then maybe another 3-minute round, just a parry, and then a counter. Being able to break it down versus speed it up. That's, I think, an important way to keep that balance.
Nice, I like that. Which actually, that makes me also want to ask about dealing with mixed levels. So, some schools have where you have multiple levels divided up. I've never been a big fan of that because A, it tends to mean your training partners become very slim.
Yes.
And then B is unless you have a big enough facility to have multiple classes going on at the same time, you end up going you put the beginner lessons usually at the best time slot because you have the majority of beginners.
Yes.
So then that means like if you have a 6:45, it's cool, I can make that. And then I get to a next level, cool, now I can make the 6 o'clock class. But then it's I get to a next level, well, I'm at work until 5:30, so I can't make the 5 o'clock level 3 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also feel like having the classes divided can not just water down the amount of training partners, but it also can mean that you have a ceiling of how advanced you can get and you're stuck in a beginner class.
I think that's very true. When you just work with the same bodies over, working with advanced people all the time is fantastic, but the problem is you get used to very particular styles and very, very particular competitors or fighters. When you start opening up to more levels, kind of get some of the newer people in there, now you have to kind of go back and maybe learn how to defend against someone that's a little bit more wild and rambunctious, or maybe you have to learn to defend against someone that has a better skill set. Maybe this person did martial arts before and has a really great kicking skill set or something like that. You don't want to just be the big fish in the small pond. You want to be the small fish in the big pond. You always want to be getting better. There is times though I will have, hey beginners, you come over here and you do this, and advanced people, you do this. And then other times I'll just mix them. The point is we're all on the floor together, and if you ever need help, if you're a newbie, you can go over to any of my advanced people, not just me, but hey, can I ask you a question on that? Can I see that real quick? And they can also help you out. I think that's the big benefit of having those mixed classes. Yeah.
Do you have any other tricks? So sometimes you will divide them up. Do you have any other tricks that you do to make sure that the beginners and the advanced both feel like they're getting their level in the class? Do you have any other tricks?
Big thing is just making sure it's appropriate level. Obviously, if I have someone new, I don't want to overwhelm them, so I'll start them with the base technique. But if I have people that are advanced, I can show the base technique and then show, okay, well, this is what we're going to add on. You're going to, going back to what we were doing earlier, the parry. It's okay, newbies, you're doing parry and power jab. Okay, now advanced people, you're doing parry, power jab, cross hook, low kick. Okay, and then you're exiting. Okay, so now both people are getting that parry and that counter, but the advanced people are getting much more meat on their plate to satisfy them.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, that's awesome. And also one of the things I like about a lot, what I would consider more practical martial arts, is that the more practical the martial art, the more it's not really about lots of information. It's about getting really good at a little bit of information. Yes. So it's when people are well, what about an advanced class? I'm you're doing the same thing. A jab cross still works. The most advanced boxer is still throwing a jab cross on the combos. You don't learn the secret punches in boxing when you get to a certain level. That kind of makes it easier.
There's a very famous quote by very famous Jujutsu black belt, and he said, the more you learn, the less you use. And I think that's 100%. I think newbies think, oh, I got to have all these skill sets. If you spar me, guys, I'm using lead, teep, jab, cross, and rear kick. And maybe an axe kick if I'm feeling spicy that day. But, like, it's true. Like, once you kind of figure out your favorite techniques and the ways to use them, you'll use a lot less because you know which avenues you're going to go to that are going to be successful. So that's kind of the fun thing. When you're new, it seems like so vast. And then once you get experienced, you use so much less.
Last question while we're in this route, so whenever I design a lesson, there's the technique part of it, like I want them to develop certain attributes, certain techniques. There's also the emotional, like sometimes it feels like you're conducting like a symphony, like I want certain emotional highs, certain emotional lows. I have a way that I want them to be at the end of the class to like walk out the door and say like, this class was really this class kicked my butt. Or I want them to say, do you have any sort of like, at the end of a class, what do you want people to say about the class itself?
I guess I just want them to like felt that they've learned something and had fun. That's the big one. Come through, make sure you feel like you've learned some way to protect yourself, and hopefully you feel a little tired after it, and hopefully you just like had a bunch of fun and can't wait to come back the next day.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome, guys.